All right, man. Today, man, I'm real excited, man. Real excited, man. I mean, I've been looking for my man to come through, man. Shit, man. I just appreciate you on the couch, Slim. You know
Man,
what I'm
I
saying?
appreciate you having me,
Hey,
man. It's an
Slim, he on the
honor,
couch,
man. You
man.
gotta
Look,
understand. Being from this city, born and raised, man. It's a certain responsibility that I feel like I have to carry this wherever I go. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Because
right, right.
I'm born and raised here. You know what I mean? And certain people I always looked up to outside of, like I tell people all the time, we our own world in DC. Like I ain't had to look up the rappers. It was dudes that was in my family and that come from my city that I looked up to and wanted to be like,
Right.
and you was one of them dudes, man. You know what I'm saying? Being able to go get some all days or some madness or some shooters and all that was what we aspired to do, man. So it's an honor for you to even
Man,
for me to be
man,
on your radar, Slim.
man, I,
Thank
pre-
you,
man, I
man.
appreciate it. I appreciate it,
All
man.
the
But
way.
look, for people that's from Pluto, because it's some people from Pluto and Jupiter and all that, right,
Right.
man? Tell them who you is, man, and where you from and all that good stuff, man.
Man, my name is Chico Bean. Born and raised in the city of Washington D.C., uptown to be exact. When I say that, I mean that all the way at Raymond Elementary, McFarland Middle School,
Okay.
Dunbar High School, the whole way through.
Okay.
Just a comedian, actor, entertainer. Producer. CEO, all of those good things, man. You know what I mean, and that's what I am.
Right, man. Look, Raymond, man, you brought back memories. That was one of our schools. We used to play in elementary. I played for Charles Young.
Oh, you play for yeah?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So we
yeah,
had
yeah.
we had the uptown sketch with Raymond, Parkview,
Parkview,
KC
Clock, and all
Lewis,
that. Yeah.
all them type of joints. Golly, man. So when you came up, what the household look like? Your mother, dad, brothers.
Nah. I was just my mother. I lived on 10th Street Northwest, Uptown, block over from 11 Park. It was my Aunt Mary's house, but it was my Aunt Mary, all my uncles, my Uncle Reggie, my Uncle Ricky, Irk, cousin Shell, Harold. They was like my aunts and uncles. They grew up with my mother. My father got killed when I was 2. So, what I mean, he was a victim of, what was going on in the 80s in DC.
Right,
He
right.
was one of them, he lost his life. And
I'm sorry to hear that,
yeah,
John.
it was just my mother, man, who I lost last year to COVID on May 4th. She
Right,
passed away. But I was raised by her. It was just
right,
us, and I grew up in a household with a bunch of my family members. So I got to get a lot of the influence from all them different adults. You know what I'm saying? In my
right,
house, so it kind of bred me to be. I had 2 people living there that was on heroin real bad, 2 dope dealers. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
it was a real unique environment, but it was no gray area in my household. So a lot of the things that I learned early prepared me for a lot of the stuff that I deal with now.
right.
So it's not foreign to me. It's a lot of things that break people down and knock people off their square. I'm used to because I grew up around it. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's powerful. So you had a lot of jewels right in the house.
All the way. I
Yeah, you
mean,
had a lot of
whether you
jewels.
consider it to be good or bad, and a lot of things that people consider to be negative is stuff that I look at as a positive because for me, because it was never concealed from me what the reality of it
Right.
was, a lot of situations that I run into, I know how to deal with
Yeah,
it from the
definitely.
ground level so it don't break me down, you know what I'm
You
saying?
got
So
that keen sense of eye where you can pick up shit and see it before it develop. You can see the floor, the whole floor.
all the way.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
good. That's good.
Yes,
Let me
sir.
ask you, have you ever had any brushes with the law?
Brief brushes, you know what I mean? And the crazy part is all the shit that I was into when I was here, I never went to jail in D.C. and
Right.
went to college and ended up getting locked up down North Carolina. It was crazy. But what changed my whole perspective and I think put me on the path that I'm on now is my Uncle Reggie. You know what I mean? Was a hell of a dude in the city, you know what I mean, in my area and just all over, you know what I'm
Right,
saying? A lot of
right.
people knew him and respected him. And he got
Okay.
killed in 2002 on Georgia Avenue, broad daylight. It was a ugly situation. And at
Right.
this time I was outside, you know what I mean, and active. And it scared me, you know what I'm saying? It scared the shit out of me because he was like superhero to me. He was like one of guy in your class, one of them dudes you think can't nothing happen to. And it just made me realize that nobody's above it. No matter who you are, you're not above what can happen out here. And I knew
Right.
at that point, man, I got to do something because I knew I wasn't built like him. And I was able to accept that. Like I said, my upbringing allowed me to know that a lot of the thing, I ain't never had a problem with a problem, but I knew a lot of the shit I was able to do was because of nepotism, because of who my people were. And I respected that. So that's what made me go to school. But I still had the mentality of a DC nigga when I went down North
Right, right.
Carolina. So it made it easier because not to say that they was, slower people, but the environment was much slower. So the speed that I was moving at ended up putting me in a situation where I got set down for a little bit, nothing major. I was able to get out and, redo my situation. But you know, I knew from coming from here that that wasn't something I wanted to deal with. You know, what I mean, I didn't want to have that be my reality.
Man, that's strong, man, that you was that young and you was able to identify that I ain't no gorilla, I ain't no chump, but I know who I am, and that road right there, I don't want that road.
Nah, I
You know what
knew
I'm
it
saying?
because it was like it. He got shot. You know, what I mean, early in the day, we went up. He got shot with his homeboy, and both of them was from uptown. But I went to Washington Hospital Center because where my mother lived was right up the street. So me and my little brother just caught the D8 to that Washington Hospital Center. And when I got there, I seen my man that was, you know, went to school with me, who was the cousin of who my uncle got killed with, and he came out the hospital room just yelling, "He dead, he dead." And I'm like, "Who?" And he told me, he was like, "Man, he dead, he dead. They shot him 8 times, he dead." So I'm like, you know, I'm trying to find where my uncle was at, but he was at Howard. So me and my little brother get on the bus, go down Howard. When I get there, all my family there. They in the room praying and everything. You know, and mind you, like I said, my father got killed when I was 2, so death is one of the first things that I had to learn how to accept and deal with. So I was used to it. I had lost homeboys, you know, in the city at that time. It was, you know, going on everywhere. I was used to it, kind of desensitized to it, but I thought that he was going to be all right, you know what I mean? And then the doctor came in and said, "Man, he got hit 1 time, point blank range in the head. You know, he on life support, but, you know, we pretty much think he going to go brain dead." So my mother and them wasn't trying to accept it. They was like, nah, you know, they was still on the God going to take care of it. And then the next day they, you know, told them it was nothing they can do, and they, you know, was going to take him off the life support. So I went up to the hospital. They said the prayers around him, my family left. The nurse lady was like, "Look, man, I know I'm not supposed to let you stay in here, but it's something on your face. I'm gonna let you stay in here. Just know if you stay, you're gonna watch him pass away." And I was like, "I want to stay."
And the nurse seen that on you.
Yeah, she seen it on me.
Talking
She
to you
seen
directly.
talking to me directly. She seen just how it affected me and how fucked up I was about it. Cause I don't remember my father getting killed, but this was like my father. So it was like I was going through it all over again. And I said my piece to him, and you know what I mean, kissed him on the forehead and watched him pass away. But I walked out of the hospital, and at this time, Curtbone, I'm feeling every emotion you can feel. I'm hurt, I'm angry, I'm scared, I'm confused, I'm everything. And I get out in front of Howard Hospital, you know, they got that courtyard right in front of Howard. And when I walked out the hospital, everything was still moving. "All right, man, don't park right here. All right, man, hey, I see you at lunch." And at that point, I'm like, my whole world is destroyed, but the world is still spinning.
Still spinning.
And at that point, I realized, like, okay, it was the start of me realizing that the world gonna spin whether or not I'm on it or not. But this shit I'm dealing with, I'm in control of. So I got to make the best out of this. And once that happened, it made me realize, like, all right, who are you? Because I was confused. And that probably that period between he got killed on March 14th. It was the 20th anniversary of his death the other day. But from that point to the day he got buried was probably the darkest days of my life, just because of what I was on. Because I felt like, you know, I was so terrified and scared that, you know, my hero had got killed the way he did. I felt like, man, I got to do something. And I was just lunching, to say the least. But I got a book given to me by one of the big homies from my neighborhood. He gave me a book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And I recommend anybody going through anything to read this book because it saved my life. You know, reading that book saved me. He came out, caught me outside, slipping for real, and say, "Man, here, man," took what I had on me, off me, gave me the book and told me to take my ass in the house. And usually I'd have been rebellious, especially at that time, because that's what I was on, because I never seen I saw my mother fight before I saw her cry. But this broke her down, so I didn't know what to do. But I went and I started reading this book, and it changed my perspective. So it let me know that, man, you ain't trying to do this. Like, I knew at that time, like, man, this ain't what you want to do, because it ain't no outcome that's going. You either going down D Street or you going to the graveyard. It ain't no way to duck it. So I knew that I was greater than that. You know what I'm saying? So it put me on the path to go to college. I took them some money that I had, because I done always been getting my own money since I was 9 years old. I started working at Bluebird's Barbershop in D.C. on Georgia Avenue, brushing people off for dollars. I've been buying my own clothes since I was 13. I got a job at Whole Foods when I was 13. I done always made my own money.
You was grinding from the start.
From the start, I ain't have a choice, because my mother was always like, "Man, I'm responsible for what you need, not what you want. All that want shit, I ain't got nothing to do with that. You gonna have a house, you gonna have some food, but all them Jordans and all this, you want to go down all days and madness and all that, that's on you, Slim." So I had to go do it myself. So I had some money that I had, you know, accumulated, and I paid for me and my man to go on this college tour. We went on all the HBCUs from D.C. to Florida. And I went to Winston-Salem State, and I seen 20 girls before I seen one dude. I was like, man, this shit ain't that bad. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is, in D.C. public schools, especially at that time, they never really talked to us about college. They were just trying to get us up out of there, you know what I mean? Because it was so treacherous in what was going on. So I didn't know nothing about, you know, college, and my teachers didn't talk to me about it. But once I went on this college tour, it intrigued me. So I, you know, got my grades right and started buckling down and getting that part right. I was still who I was, but I was just focused, and you know, that saved me, man.
That's a powerful piece right there, man. That's a powerful piece. And something you said really hit me. Like, people don't understand during that time and before that time the type of OGs is out there. Like, the OG come out there and give you a book that change your mind. You know what I'm saying? You always, when you look at TV or different platform, they act like the older dudes passing guns and passing drugs, but you had one of them OGs that, man,
yeah, that passed me. He gave me a book, man. He gave me a book because he seen that just how, you know, how terrified I was from what the reality of the situation that I was dealing with was, you know, because amongst my peers, you know, I mean, I was always ahead of the game when it came to my peers, you know. I remember watching the interview with you where you were talking about just how when you came uptown, how fast life was up there, and how it made you adjust to what you was doing when you went back home. Like, that was my reality. It was always quick, you know what I mean? And my mother was like, I say she raised me in reverse. She ain't coddle me and come here, baby, and all that. She was like, she ain't do that till I became a man. You know what I mean? She was like, man, get out my face. Go do something with yourself. So I was always actively moving around into something, getting me some money, always. So, you know what I mean? All the time, 24/7. So
it show how you living now. But,
yeah.
But let me ask you this. When you went to college, what did you major in? How did you decide to take that major, whatever you majored in?
Communications, radio, television, because it ain't had no math in it.
Oh,
that's the truth. I ain't going there because it ain't had no math. But
I believe, because my son, he went to college and started saying he gonna be a accountant or a business owner. They gave him the math. He switched that joint on
immediately.
I don't even know what he is.
Yeah,
he just switched the joint up on, right? So you that math. They be ducking that math.
Yeah, I was ducking the math, but you know, I done always been, you know, very well spoken as far as public speaking. You know, I did a thing when I was 5 years old on Frederick Douglass for an hour from memory. I've always been like that. You know what I mean? So when they said that I can do something to where communication, which I've always felt like was my gift from God, you know what I mean? That was my blessing to be able to communicate thoroughly. I was like, well, I'm going to take this, you know what I mean? I'm going to take this and make this my major. And I did it, you know what I mean? Went through the whole collegiate time, joined the fraternity, all that. You know, I embraced the college because where I came from, like, a lot of people didn't understand. You know, a lot of dudes come from certain environments, and I say the hood is the same everywhere, but you know, everyone ain't equal. It's just like the NBA, you know what I mean? Who plays center for the Kings? You don't know, but he an NBA player, but he not LeBron or KD or none of them. So he the same thing, but it's just not, it's not equal to what it is, you know what I mean? So what I came from wasn't necessarily equal to the environments that a lot of people came from, so I was able to make the best of it while also still keeping the same mentality that I had in certain pockets coming from where I came from. So it helped me when I graduated. I was the first person in my family to get a college degree, all that good stuff. But I went to get a job. Appreciate you. I went to get a job, and they told me that I was going to be making $6 an hour part-time in hopes of them recognizing that, you know, I'm good enough to move up to get some, you know, some full-time work.
And that great area kicked in that
for me, I was like, I've been a hustler my whole life. I'm not, if I'm gonna be poor and struggling, I'm gonna be poor and struggling, building my own legacy. I ain't about to help somebody else keep building theirs in hopes that they see me as somebody worthy of giving an opportunity to. So that's what made me jump off the porch and start doing comedy.
Out the park, niggas know me. Curtbone, little homie. All days,